Chapter 9. Abundance. A bottomless pit of blessings and miracles. Our two senior dogs. Yes, from everything mentioned before, to even an almost stranger that helped us to take care of the last problem that could prevent us from actually going on the trip. I, kind of by accident, mentioned to her about the dream of our trip and how everything was coming along. But the only thing that was stopping us now was the care of our two senior dogs. The trip would take 11 days, and I did not feel comfortable about bothering anyone with this because I knew how busy everybody was. At the same time, I did not want to put our dogs in one of those pet hotels. I had tried it once before, just for a couple of days, and was completely sure I did not want to put our dogs through that experience ever again. Plus, since they were already old, they had many issues that would make me totally unable to allow somebody to keep them at their house. But with this almost stranger, it was totally different. That coincidence of the two of us being on the same sidewalk at the same time, of the conversation to flow so seamlessly, of how happy this lady was, of how interested she was in us to be able to fulfill our dream. So when the conversation got to the point of me starting to mention about the dogs, just for the sake of it, because that was about the only thing that had been in my mind lately. This lady, this almost stranger, just said, "Bring them to my house." To which I reacted by being instantly paralyzed, almost not believing what I was hearing. And I say almost because things were a little different this time. I was too far along in the process of dealing with this invasion of angels as to not to realize that perhaps, most likely, this was another piece to complete the whole. So I went on with the conversation. Honestly, knowing how I know me, I can tell you that in a previous stage of my life, that conversation would not have even taken place. But I was able to recognize the probability of that being another angel meant or sent to help us to complete this dream. At the moment this conversation took place, I wasn't even looking for anything. I was happily walking around my mom's neighborhood, enjoying the air, enjoying the clouds, enjoying the beautiful day. And the whole sequence appeared in front of me as if by magic, out of nowhere. And the sequence of words back and forth, and the very fluid flow of the conversation. So even though I said that no way, I cannot bother her with this, I cannot do that, and explain how old our dogs were and the things that she would need to go through, this almost stranger insisted and said, "Why don't you bring them one day to visit and see how do they get along with my dog inside my house?" And there was no way that I could continue to offer resistance to the kindness of this almost stranger, to the kindness of this beautiful being. So the day came when I took the dogs to her house. And what I saw was totally amazing. Her place was as if the house belonged to the dog and the human was just a visitor there. So many toys, so many dog beds. Everything was arranged around the needs and the likes of the dog. And the three dogs got along together very well, and this almost stranger did not seem to mind any of the arguments that I had explained to try to convince her about how hard it would be for her to keep the three dogs. All I could get from this almost stranger was always a smile, always a welcoming attitude, and even refused to charge me anything to keep the dogs there. Absolutely nothing. The angel introduced to us by my child's teacher. This person is extremely busy, and after our first contact, she took the time to communicate with me, both via emails and phone calls, to see what would be the most ideal ways she could help my child. She took great care in finding out the details of our trip, so whatever she could do on her end would be the most beneficial to my child. And we started communicating back in April, and the trip would take place in June and would last 11 days. And school was out at the beginning of May, so she suggested that in order not to disrupt my child's school life so much, and in order not to do this too close to our departure, which would end up being more stressful than helpful for me, and in order to do this as close to our trip as possible, so everything was fresher in my child's mind, she suggested that we do it toward the end of May. I asked about how long we should plan for our visit to be, just to coordinate the rest of our activities that day, and I thought she would say 15 to 30 minutes, and I was very surprised when she suggested that we planned for about 2 hours. And I was delighted about her ability to put herself in both of our shoes and analyze every little detail and offered a very meaningful idea. But I was even more delighted at her willingness to spend so much time thinking about us and trying to plan the best possible experience for my child. So the day we agreed on came, and I was expecting a quick tour through some of the waiting areas of the airport. I was expecting her to maybe show my child some aspects of going up to the ticket counter, etc. But how far I was from what we were going to experience. The attention to details was impressive. The thoughtfulness was just unbelievable. The attention we received from so many people there that day was just totally overwhelming. Everything we got to see, to experience, so much love from everyone, so many smiles, so many nice people, so much advice and so many suggestions to me to make our experience easier, so much love and care to my child. And when we went into her office, she even had pictures on the wall of my child and his classmates when they went there on a field trip the previous year. I felt I was walking or floating on top of a cloud or something. I am not going to talk about the specific and amazing details of this magnificent and unforgettable 2 hours because it would be just too much to mention. And honestly, I prefer to keep that in a very special place inside my heart. In that very special place where I keep my most precious treasures. And we talked so much that day. She got to know part of my truest feelings about my child and our experience in this life together. And at some point she said that yes, she was doing all of that for my child, but she was doing it even more for me because she wanted me to ease most of my stress and because she could tell from the very beginning that I was an incredible human being. And because I was raising a wonderful child, just for that. That day, all my emotions were at the very surface of my skin. Tears of joy sometimes, and other times tears of truly not believing how these wonderful people could be so extremely nice to us, and so thoughtful, and so loving. And we left that place feeling so excited, feeling so fulfilled. My child was feeling the honor of that place, was definitely the owner of all of those hearts and souls during the time he was there. And if that would have been all that these wonderful people did for us, and if that would have been all that this beautiful angel did for us, it would have been way more than anyone would have ever expected. Much more than anyone would be able to dream about. But no, that was not all. Many emails would follow. One saying that she had contacted the manager of the airport from which we needed to depart, and that she was assured that we would be taken care of there. Another one saying that she contacted the manager of the airline in which we were flying, and that they would make sure we would have the most pleasant experience. And how totally unbelievable everything was to me is completely beyond description. And the only thing I could do in the midst of all my awe and all my amazement was to just say yes to everything that was coming our way. I did not know how to handle any of that or how to express my total appreciation for everything they were doing. What could I do? What could I possibly say to somehow balance so much that was coming from them? Nothing. Just let myself float and follow and send love to every single one of them. And on a Friday, she emails me to say that she and the crew wanted to give my child a gift, and she wanted to know if it was okay with me. And I was totally jaw-dropped. But more? What is this? And there was no way I could say no to so much kindness. As I typed this, I remember how I was an expert at that in my previous life. An expert at blocking everything that was trying to reach me because of my rigidity, because of my lack of self-worthiness, because of how deeply I truly believed and was totally sure that I did not deserve anything. And for some magical reason, none of this was possible for me anymore. Even the thought of it was nowhere to be found in my mind at all. It is as if I was totally a different person. It is as if I was observing me from out of my body and could not believe what I was seeing. There was no way I could put even the smallest barrier to what was coming to me. So much love. And now that I remember, I told her exactly that in my email. That there was no way I could say no. Not for the gift itself, which at that point I did not know what it was, but because I could sense from the very beginning all the love that was flowing and overflowing from them towards us. And I knew all of that kindness came from the purest depths of their souls. She told me that they wanted to give a small tablet to my child, so the airport and flight journeys would be easier for me, and that they wanted to know which cartoons or which apps I approved of, so they could download them for my child. Could you believe this? We had never had a tablet, and even though I thought it was a great idea, going to purchase one or even someone giving us one would have created such stress in me at that point, because I truly do not like following directions to figure out anything. I am more of a sensing and feeling type of person. But this was a miracle. Not only were they so thoughtful as to having the idea of getting the tablet for my child to make everything easier for us, but they went to the extreme thoughtfulness of even wanting to download things for us. And the following Sunday, she calls me early in the morning. I did not hear the phone, so she emailed me. Then I called her back. Basically, she wanted us to stop by, and we were out of town, so we agreed that we were stopping by on our way back, which would be pretty much at nighttime. She said it did not matter because she would be there all night. When we got there, several of them came out. It was a brand new tablet that they had been charging all day, so it was ready to go. They had done all the necessary setups for me, gave me all the information of all the things they had set up, had downloaded the things that my child liked. They stayed with us for a while. They just wanted to see and feel and enjoy all the happiness of my child and my amazement. I just wanted them to feel my appreciation and, yes, my love. I could not hold it inside of me. That feeling in my chest, it was just flowing and flowing. And we left, and none of my relatives and friends could believe any of that. And the day of the flight came, and my mom and my brother went with us to the airport. We had to travel to a different city, and my brother had been in many airports and many flights before, and I could see the total amazement in his face. As soon as we entered the airport, someone approached us to greet us and guide us, and took us to the next place that we needed to go. And someone there said, "Oh, you are so and so." And they shook my child's hand, and I could tell my child was feeling extremely joyful and important. And they helped us in the process. And we sat down in the waiting area, and my brother just said, "This is simply unbelievable." And then the time came when we had to enter the next area, and my mom and my brother could not go there. So we had to say goodbye, and my child was very centered about everything, and I was very calmed. Then in the next room, then at the next stage, and then in the next, everyone helping us and addressing my child by name. How did they know? It is clear they had been expecting us. And when we finally entered the airplane, oh, my child, and me too, I have to admit, was walking on clouds. They made us go in earlier so my child could settle into it. And as we faced the entrance of the plane, the whole crew was standing there with beautiful smiles on their faces, waving and greeting us, and telling my child, "Oh, you must be so-and-so," and shaking hands and saying, "Welcome, so-and-so." And my child was so happy. And one of the stewardesses took us to our seats and explained many things to us and assured me everything was going to be fine. And as everyone else boarded the plane, and as the plane was ready to lift off, a stream of memories of all the beautiful people and circumstances that blessed us with their love and their kindness to make sure this dream would come true kept flowing and flowing through me. And tears of appreciation and joy and love kept flowing and flowing from me. And as the plane lifted, I was amazed to see that even though I was expecting my child to cover the ears and be stressed out, all I could hear was the most happy "wee!" And I was totally delighted to see that such joyful exclamation was coming out of the happiest face I have ever seen, my child's face, covered with a smile from forehead to jaw and from ear to ear. That split-second moment was enough for me to instantly realize that everything, absolutely everything that had happened in my life before, every stress, every effort, every thought, every person that crossed our paths to try to help us in one way or another, every coincidence, every single thing had been worth it. Just to see such an expression and such joy in my child. And unbelievable opportunities for learning and increase in my child's awareness popped up throughout both flights. And in every day we spent away from home. Beautiful experiences, astonishing views. And the day of our return arrived, and my friend and her son went with us to the airport in that 3.5-hour away country. And they stayed with us till the last place they could go to. And the moment to say goodbye came, and I was very calmed, and my child was incredibly well behaved. And to be completely honest, I have to say that even though we stayed in that country only 11 days, the experience was so delightful. We visited so many places. We felt so much love in the people we met. Our emotions were so constantly on the surface of our skin, on the surface of every cell of our bodies. We lived everything so intensely and so beautifully that those 11 days felt as if they were truly at least a year. Everything from back home felt far away in our memory. I felt as if I had been somehow emptied out. I felt much lighter. It was a much bigger airport than the ones we had been before. And as we were walking and following the signs to find the appropriate airline, the thoughts about all the help we had received from all those people back home kept flowing through my mind and my body. But everything felt very distant, like when one is daydreaming, like floating. And we got there, and before we were able to find a place to sit, I see a lady approaching me and saying my name in the language of that 3.5-hour away country. A language that I know very well from having been very fluent in it in a previous stage of my life. A language that I love so much. And I am sure she was able to see the surprise on my face and how puzzled I was from seeing someone approaching me by name in that language in the middle of that airport so far from home. And she quickly explained that that beautiful angel back home had contacted her a couple of weeks ago, explaining her about us and asking her to help us in our way back. And I just told her how much I appreciated all of that and how incredible this person back home was, and all the thoughtfulness and all the love, and how unbelievable it was that this lady in that faraway country remembered to do something she was asked to do 2 weeks before by someone she probably didn't even know, for two simple people that do not know anybody, that were just trying to live life in love and joy and happiness. And they truly helped us a great deal. Reassigned seats to us so my child would be in a more calm area. And as we entered the plane, exactly the same. The whole crew at the door, greeting us and calling my child by name and shaking hands and checking on us periodically throughout the flight and making sure I was fine. Now I realized that they all knew they needed to pay more attention to me than to my child. That I was the one that was stressed out about so many things. And I am totally thankful for every one of the beautiful angels that crossed our lives during all those months. Some for a very short time. Some stayed with us longer. But they all had a very crucial role in the completion of this wonderful dream. And I still hear in my soul the exclamations of my child so many times in each flight, as the plane went a little bit up or a little bit down, or all the way up or all the way down. And deep down inside of me, I know that they were all with me and could clearly hear and rejoice in each beautiful wee that came out of my child's happy face, of my child's happy being. Deep down inside of me, I know that that is why they did it. Just for that beautiful moment. Just for that beautiful feeling. And all I can say is, like my child usually says, we did it.